Hey everyone, welcome back to GA Plus with myself and Aaron Kernan. Once again, we're having a look back over the weekend at all the action that was going on, and really one show a week is not enough with the way things are heating up this weather. But anyway, we're going to do our best. Aaron, how's things? Yeah, tell me a little bit about your weekend. We saw the result with Sligo and Fermanagh.
Yeah, it was a disappointing one. We knew going into the game, obviously having had the study Mana and Deptly that they have improved hugely as the year has gone on, and it seemed like they put much more of an emphasis into really progressing in the Tatlton Cup. Going away from home was always going to be a difficult one for us, but we felt we were well prepared. We felt we had a team that was capable of going and getting a win away, and then you were back in Croke Park again, where the boys have been this past few years and just couldn't get across the lane to a final. But just came up short. To be fair, Man were just the better team on the day. Good early start from us, but they really took over, pressed their kickouts. We just found it so hard to get our hand on the ball, and yeah, they had a real purple spell for the 20 minutes before half time that put a bit of daylight, and it just left their lads that they were just continuously chased and expending energy. That it just meant that they could keep picking you off with counter attacks throughout the second half, and could have got something from it, but yeah, reality is on the day, unfortunately, they were the better team, and that's sport.
Yeah, they march on. It's into the last four. They got a tough draw. I suppose they got probably the favourites as it stands in Kildare.
They did, yeah. Really, before it started. Well, I suppose it was Kildare or Westmeath would have been the bookies' favourites on it. But yeah, I think like from the first game of the league, it was a hockey match for Man at Kildare. I don't see that happening this time around. Like I said, there's just been huge improvement in Fermanagh how they've progressed all year. I still would have Kildare as favourites in it, but it's a game I think that all neutrals will enjoy, just given the style of football that they both play. And then another huge positive is the fact that the other semi-final is paired Wicklow against Limerick, which means that we're now guaranteed a Division 4 team in the Tatlton Cup final, which I think is really important, because there does be some muted chat about maybe a third tier and that there. And I think the fact that both of these teams have beaten Westmeath, who've just come from Division 2 or were playing Division 2 this year. Both of these counties have beaten them in the Tatlton Cup, and I think it just bodes really well. I think it's just another emphasis on how important the Tatlton Cup is and how beneficial it can be once your team sticks together, buys into it. Limerick, well, obviously Westmeath getting turned over by Wicklow at home, but Limerick having won 4 championship games in a row. Like just the confidence and the buzz that brings to that group, and then maybe another generation of young Limerick players. You couldn't emphasize it enough.
Exactly, on the back of the league as well for Limerick. So it's you're right. I didn't think of that, but the Division 4 team getting through, there's a significance and an importance there. Okay, good stuff. Well, I suppose while you were on the sideline, we were up in Cavan, a few of us watching Galway and Armagh, and it was looking back when you look back over the full 70 minutes play, it was an amazing game. And at the same time, Dublin and Derry were putting on a bit of a show as well elsewhere in the country. So there was a lot of that. Was only just Saturday evening, but yeah. So we were a bit crestfallen at halftime with the Galway contingent in the crowd, with kind of the ease at which Armagh had marched into a commanding position really at halftime, even with all the changes that they had and the players that they brought in. It was a tricky situation, really, I'd say, and probably halftime in the Galway dressing room, it was very real. There was 35 minutes to fight for their lives, and I suppose they came up with the goods in the second half. But it was an amazing game of football, just end to end, hits, scores, keepers doing amazing things, forwards doing amazing things. It was brilliant. But first thing maybe we'll just start with is maybe a little different, but something I picked up on, and it's a couple of goal chances, and it's not the 2 penalties that Galway missed, because we'll leave them for another day. But just one thing, an observation really on maybe how to create the best of space for your teammate. And It was the first. It was this attack here. Galway going to win the kick out, right? And it's early in the first half, and we have Killian McDade who makes a monster run forward. But as you see, when his run, he kind of runs in a straight line. I'd rather him taking off in the direction of that arrow, just to draw the play across. And also, we need Rob Finnerty out of there as well, because you can see Niall Grimley has cut across to cover off Matthew Thompson. But if right was right, I think Killian McDade needs to be more central right now. Grimley will need to still be kind of 50-50 between the two. And that gives a wider and a better angle for Matthew Tierney to attack on. He has to stay wide because of where Killian's run is. And I just think if Killian had made the space for him, it would have made an even greater goal scoring opportunity.
And as Killian runs towards Niall Grimley has to then check his run, because he's unsure then, well, is the danger going to be Killian McDade or is it going to be Matthew Thompson? And obviously at that point on Rob Finnerty, he does well to initially clear the space, but once he clears that space, he needs to read the room as well and realise, well, if I run back, I'm taking a man back with me who can then leave me and clog up space, and that's what then happens.
Yeah, no, and that's it. You're right. So look, it's a tiny little thing, but it's just something that caught my eye. The next one here is from a early second half. So Galway have started like a train. They've already got a goal and a couple of points, and intercepted kick out, and we have Matthew Thompson, and we'll see it from behind the goal, but he probably just telegraphs a little bit. And I think with any goalie, but certainly with a big goalie, you got to keep the ball low. Ethan Rafferty has kind of shown the near post a little bit there, to my mind. But I've noticed he's going to trail his legs left, and he's going to go with the body to the right, and maybe it's just really good goalkeeping. But the height of the shot for me is off. You got to keep it low, and that's just one thing. I don't think the opportunity was there to around him because there was someone on him. But look, that's just a real kind of nitpicking. But we'll see a good example of it here. Rob Finnerty he applies the finish correctly. Just another turnover in the kick out as it happens, and it just a bit of luck in how it gets into Rob Finnerty's lap, or a bit of skill, but he steadies himself and he just rolls it in. And I guess not a hard shot. And think of all the times, Aaron, we've seen the likes of Gooch Cooper do that over the years. And he was a master of it, just finding the corner. He never had to roof a ball or blast it. And I think that's the correct finish in a lot of instances, but certainly against the larger frame goalies, the bigger goalies who are going to be coming out, they don't get a chance to react to that low ball.
Yeah, and Peter Canavan as well springs to mind. PJ himself, Portrait, they were your sort of your master finishers. And to be fair to Rob, that's a few times this year where he's got the ball really quick, right hand on to right foot, and like that's a cool finish whenever you have a keeper coming full pace out at you, the ball's just landed in your hand, the two players have just played it off his left eye, just out of his A lane. So that is. It was taken by a man who is in absolutely the form of his life. He got an All-Star last year, but he certainly looks like someone who has kicked on and is taking on the mantle as actually the main scorer and the main go-to player in the inside lane for Galway.
Yeah, 100%, and 100%, and like a lot of it is instinct. With the speed that it's happening, a lot of it is instinct. But his instincts were good in that situation. If we just throw my eyes on something else, then I suppose the big thing was like the change in the second half.
Was there anything else that you found tactically different, or was it a mentality? What was the big change as someone who was there from Galway in the first half to the second?
I think primarily, I think it was that the essence of it was Galway were well behind. They just needed to get on the ball. They needed to win the ball back and get on the ball. And in the first half, just too passive. Invited maybe Armagh on a little bit, and Armagh were on fire outside the arc. They got 4 out of 5 2-pointers. The one that they missed was a Reno O'Neill free effort, but just giving off those chances, and that was for me anyway. That's what I felt. It was just that energy and desire, and wasn't there in the first half to the level that it needed to be. And for whatever reason, in the second half, straight away, we've turnover kickouts, we have a goal early in the second half, and it just changed the complexion of the game. So this is an example of it early in the second half. Just pressing, working hard, prepared to push lads towards the sideline, use it as the extra defender. Yeah, a bit over the top there, but the good foul kind of springs to mind in that situation. They're not getting out easy, and and just more of it here again, looking to press. And in fairness to Keane McConville, he had an exceptional game. He got 3 unbelievable scores, I think, before he went off. But Daniel O'Flaherty was a player who came in. He brought a lot of energy to the half back line, and just we're going to see him in a minute now. But they're just pressing on a little bit more, willing to engage early. But Daniel loses the speed, just times a lovely dispossession here, and Galway are away. And again, something that we didn't see in the first half is Johnny McGrath's run here. It's just he empties himself, and he knows he's not going to be the one, or it's very unlikely he's going to be the one applying a finish to a move up here. But he takes a player out, away from Matthew Thompson there in this instance by just driving hard at the defence and letting him carry it forward, and he sets up a chance for Rob Finnerty. So that just desire to do more, win the ball back.
Him making that run there means that the other 2 matchups are 1-on-1 battles.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go with a 2-on or it's a 3-on-2, and Galway have to recycle. So yeah, he doesn't touch the ball, but it's very selfless what he does.
Vital. You need those runs. You need them all day, every day. But they're thankless, but they mean so much. Another clip on this is just in the last play, Paul Conroy has kicked a score for Galway. So the kick out has come here, and we're just going to roll it on. And he's back on his 21, and he's going to end up just getting contact initially, and then working a turnover, and just Galway away again. And it's just they wanted the ball back in their possession, and there was an urgency to it, because they didn't, you can't rely on what was going on in the other fixture. They needed to take care of business, and they knew that, and they did it, in fairness, just about. But this last one, I think the best to last nearly. But this is a massive. Andrew Murnan with a massive take here, and Armagh away, and the game is really in the melting pot here. Like, we're being served up an absolute spectacle at this stage. But John Maher goes for this, and he ends up making like an unbelievable block down. The ground that he makes up here, he is fully committed. This can go wrong. This can be, black card, red card injury. But what about that? Like, for just when a teammate of yours does that, like it just really, really elevates everyone on the team. The crowd, everyone was wild at that stage, and they were just they were some of the little things that was different about Galway second half to first half.
Yeah, the second half reminded me of the second half against Dublin last year. Flatten up first half, staying 4 or 5 points behind. Looked like one of these old days where it's a good Galway team, but you just can't cut it against the top teams. And they come out in the second half. The energy, the fight, that hunting down Dublin, similar to the hunting down Armagh. It's sort of what we spoke about and discussed last week, which is why I would have been happy enough to have seen the back of Galway, because I just think the longer they stay in it and the longer they take energy from the likes of that performance that they put in the second half, and when you see players selfless and chasing lost causes like they did, becomes very infectious. The footballers are there, but that's not the issue here. It's just maybe the application, or maybe that sense of they're a bit tired than maybe what they really are, and they're on a road a few years between the 2 finals and just not getting across the lane. But that could really kickstart them, similar to what that second half performance against Dublin did last year.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe final point on it is it's just how they come back. There was a comeback against Kerry, twice 8 points down. There was a comeback against Armagh. They were asked hard questions by Mayo, and with 50 minutes gone, and Mayo failed to hit the front, and Galway raised their game and drove on when it might have taken was Mayo to get ahead at that stage, and it could have been a different outcome in that game. And
even the Dublin game, Michael, was only a kick of the ball. It was literally a kick of the ball. Like, had they won the last kick out and attacked, they would have won by 1, and everyone's saying this is a Galway team that can't be beaten. So
it's a good characteristic to have. Just that little bit that's there, and they're definitely going to kind of try and feed off that, but they will from here on in. They'll have to bring more, from earlier in matches. That they're not going to get let off the hook like that. But look, that's where Galway are at.
We leave Galway for the time being. I think we've talked enough about them. For me, another standout performance and a standout win last weekend was Meath's defeat of Kerry. And I suppose it comes off the back of I'd seen their game in the championship last year. It was played in Park Tatlton, and Meath ended up losing that game 2-18 to 0-9. Now, granted, Kerry got 2 late enough goals, and it was a comfortable win, but it wasn't as comfortable with the final scoreline. But 0-9 to 2-18, and you reverse that around now, and it goes 122 to 0-16 in Meath's favour. I'm coming home wanting to know what happened. Where did the turnaround come in this? Number one, the biggest thing that stood out to me was Kerry didn't score a goal. And whenever you look at that, I suppose obviously they beat Dublin, they've beaten Cork, but the Leinster final was the real killer for them, and it was the manner of the defeat was the goals. Goals killed them. Every time they looked like they were playing well, they're putting up scores the other end of the field, and Louth was just killing them with sucker punch goals all the time. And an awful lot of it was stuff that could be fixed, and I think we maybe even spoke about it here. So the first thing I want to look about is defensively. Bits of that I have seen a huge improvement of them in possession, the composure on the ball, their willingness to get back and sense danger before the danger arrives. And this is the first, and the game has literally just started. Now, Kerry are right up there with the top teams in the country in terms of pressing, but we're looking at Donal Keogan, Kieran Caulfield here. They're pressed, they're in a corner, but they just buy themselves that wee bit of time. They don't go out to where all the traffic is. Caulfield lifts his head and just plays. It looks like a really simple ball, but most teams panic in that situation, keep trying to come out the side where everybody is, and they get turned over. Ethan Rafferty now carries the ball at full pace, the opposite end of the field, and within 10 seconds, look what we have highlighted here. You have all 11 available Kerry players back in a defensive position, and Meath now have an attack set up. And all of that comes from it is between Keogan and Caulfield just having their head up, looking for a wee bit of green grass around them to avoid that press. So that was super, put them on the front foot. This is another one now. They're blowing up for Overcarrion, which was extremely harsh. Just check the bottom of the screen here. Think of the goals they conceded in the Leinster final, how open they were down the middle. Donal Keogan straight away. They've clearly spoken about this. They've talked about it, and he's heading for home straight away. He knows there's danger. He's not jogging. He's trying to get back as quickly as possible. Now, Tony Brosnan here, maybe this symbolises Kerry and Kerry's attitude, tries the fancy flick up in a wet day. But Keogan's thinking defence. But this, as soon as they win the ball, they're back in attack mode again. And Owen Frayne, brilliant pass, takes out all the retreating Kerry players. Keith Curtis picks the ball up, taps it over the bar. So even though they're aware that they defensively need to be better and they need to get back, they still are able to punish you on the opposite side of the field. That's a brilliant combination. Something simple here, basic hand pass, just plays in front of a man, skids away a wee bit, well read, well intercepted by Kerry. What are they looking straight away? Ball to the inside lane, David Clifford one-on-one, let's punish straight away. But look at Adam O'Neill now, similar to what Donal Keogan did earlier. As play goes on here, he is thinking of nothing else, get back, but it's look where he gets back. He doesn't run to the wing to Clifford, he gets straight back goal side so that he's there to double up. So Clifford can't beat Ethan Rafferty in a one-on-one, and within a few seconds, here we have 4v2 in Meath's favour. No goal opportunity on, and Kerry have to end up recycling the ball back. That didn't happen, not even speaking about last year, that didn't happen 5-6 weeks ago in a Leinster final. Had it have happened, you'd probably be looking at Leinster champions. But for me, I think they have taken a huge amount in terms of losing that Leinster final, in terms of how they are now better defensively. So they've beaten Dublin, they've beaten Cork, and they've beaten Kerry in the All-Ireland series in the championship so far. And to me, that's huge strides in terms of what they've done defensively, and a lot of that has come since the Leinster final.
It's mad, and it's performance of the weekend. Like many smart man or woman definitely didn't call that victory, or very few. And I suppose that there's a caveat there that Kerry are carrying injuries. And there's no doubt about that. But like that's not nothing for me to worry about. But
on the same token, that is the reality. There are marquee players, household names that Kerry are missing, but Jack Flynn is Meath's main midfielder. He's missing. James Conlon, probably the best inside forward they had all year. Matthew Costello, they're probably the best player. The three of them aren't playing last weekend, and Meath still have the ability and composure to defend and attack. Like you're talking probably their two main forwards that they have had in the championship. They're starting without them. So for them to stick the script, to build and grow against one of the All-Ireland favourites, granted who were missing a few people, it was massive, but
They've the
Another
week off.
aspect. Oh, they do.
You know,
They
they've the
do.
week
Yeah,
off
yeah.
now. They're in that perfect situation where they can, they can sit back, get bodies right, and just really, like, go for an All Ireland quarter final now, the weekend after next. So like it's dreamland really for this Meath group.
It is indeed, and the other aspect of it is we focused a bit on what they did defensively while in possession and out of it. But another standout one for me is a lot of chat all year has been about Kerry, being goal hungry and Kerry not taking on with 2-pointers. Kerry have been held scoreless in terms of goals in this one here, and Meath outscored them 4 2-pointers to 1. And it's just wee subtleties and how this Meath attack moves to create these opportunities for themselves. This time here, just look on the left-hand side of the screen, you have Owen Freyan. You have a Meath runner just up that inside lane, occupying the Kerry defender slightly, just taking him that he needs to step towards him. But Freyan doesn't track him. He stays as wide as he possibly can until the time is right that he's cutting in, just getting to that 40-meter arc and over the bar. Absolutely textbook from him because it's premeditated. Similarly here, just look at the top left-hand corner of the screen again, and we're looking at Rory Kinsella. Now, if Rory Kinsella starts edging towards the 40-meter arc, now you see the Kerry players, they're inside the arc, they're ready to step out, but he just takes 4 or 5 steps backwards to buy himself that space to come running onto the ball, and now the Kerry player could and should step out to get the block, but if he doesn't take that step back, he doesn't afford himself that last 2 steps to hit with conviction and put the ball over the bar. And similarly again here, the first half they had 2 2-pointers in a row. This is the start of 2 2-pointers in a row again in the second half. So if I'm Kerry and I'm coming up against Meath, here we have Rory Kinsella again. You have 4 Kerry players still defending the arc. The arc isn't the lane for me. Outside the 45, or at least the 45, is where I would be setting my defensive lane against Meath, because they've shown throughout the league that they're unbelievable at striking 2-pointers. And as we mentioned in the first half, it was 2 in a row. Watch Shane Ryan here. He has to force another kicker because, again, they're really good on the press. Rory Murphy does his best to try and keep the ball in, but it ends up Conor Duke picks it up and just composes himself. 2 solos off the right foot and strokes one over off the left.
But they're just backing off. He gets unopposed, a clear runway into the 45 or just inside. And like, if we know anything from watching Meath in this, the success against Dublin, but go back to the league matches, like, they are one of the teams that are kicking the 2-pointers the most. And
Kerry, yeah, you're right, Michael. Kerry had the actual numbers there again. If you watch that clip back, Kerry have a 3v2. Exactly. They keep dropping off, but one of those Kerry players needs to be screaming at Peg Morley. Peg Morley doesn't know what's happening behind him, but the players behind him need to give him the confidence to say, we have our men, get out in the shooter, and they don't. Now, this could be a great learning curve for Kerry, in terms of the 2-point threat that they face and how it will better them. Maybe not be needed this weekend, but it will certainly be needed if they progress to Croke Park as expected in 10 days' time. But it's a massive strength of Meath, and it's an area that I think Kerry will improve hugely off last weekend. But I just want to finish again from another positive aspect for Meath. They had Rory Kinsella hit a point. They hit the 2 pointers in a row, and this is the 5th minute. They've just gone attack, and we end up now. The last player that we want to show is Brian Menton, and same thing. This ends up in a bit of a slow attack. Menton, you see him at the top of the screen, just wheels around, sees the space where Kerry have left the centre wide open. Another brilliant foot pass from Kieran Caulfield, and Menton does really well, keeps it low, sticks it into the bottom of the net. Great awareness from him to see space, but also the composure and the skill set from Kieran Caulfield to just drop that ball into his path, put it in the back of the net. And like we'd mentioned, from the 53rd to the 58th minute, that's 1-5 that Meath have just hit Kerry for, and that was the big difference. They had the confidence and the belief that once they felt they were on top, they absolutely went for it. And a lot of it is based off the 2-point threat that they have.
Yeah, and he could be forgiven for turning and blasting that ball and maybe going over the crossbar, under the crossbar, but he placed it fairly well low and hard, and it gets in there. So I think it kind of links into maybe the part we were talking about earlier with a couple of missed opportunities. But yeah, that's I suppose when I see the clips that you're showing there, Aaron, I'm just thinking as well back to the Cork game in the group, and fair enough, Kerry went on to win, handily in the second half. But in the first half, Cork cut through them, but couldn't take their goal chances, maybe 2 or 3, and they're possibly getting caught between trying to close down and cut out the goal chances. Caught between that and then getting the pushing out on the potential 2-point kickers a little bit, but it's something they're going to have to get to grip with pretty quickly now, because they, like anyone else coming through the preliminary quarterfinals, they don't have too much time now to work on that.
No, and like I said, we'll speak about it just before we finish up. But the way, and most certainly know the parents can really only work from an Armagh point of view. If Kerry get over this weekend, or the favourites all win this weekend, there's only one parent that can happen, and that would be Armagh and Kerry in Croke Park in 10 days' time. And obviously there is the huge 2-point threat that we would have from a number of different players. But before we get there, we have someone else. We have the boys in blue that we'll have a quick look at, and maybe King Con in particular. Michael, again, his return stood out for you last weekend.
He did. I suppose he got through the game, start to finish, and we look at a few clips of just, he kicked his 5 points. But the first thing maybe, and I'm just brought back to Galway and Dublin in Pearse Stadium, and I remember the very first kick out, and they set up, and they've been doing this ever since. But Con, any game he's played, is that man on the sideline. Padder O'Cuffey Byrne is, such a big man, strong fielder. He's tasked with winning that ball, and if he can win that ball, Con is gambling. He's going. They open up the pitch for him, and against Galway, they get the ball into the hands of Bugler, and it's an easy chance. After 7 or 8 seconds, it's an easy chance. He just didn't catch it right, but it all came from that set move. And here we have it again in the very first half of the game, and it's well won in the middle of the field, and straight away he knows what he's doing with it. He's getting it into Con's path, and look how much space has opened up for him. If the full forward line have moved a little bit earlier and just really exaggerated, gone over to the side, maybe he gets in for a goal. But here again, if it works, why change it? It took a little while longer to get the ball into his path. The goal chance is probably never really on here. Derry are a little bit quicker to react, but those little scores, when you can create them, is just they're lovely settlers early in a half. In open play, then just 2 things. This is early in the match. And it was a fantastic game of football again, like we saw everything that we saw in all the other games over the weekend. It was a serious contest. But this is Con, just if there was any doubt about how his body was, this is early in the game, and he is hounding on the in line, working hard, forcing a 45, I think. So that was a real measure. Yeah, okay, he's good. He's moving well, and I just like this one. He doesn't actually get a score, but he just links up play really well here and just gives and goes. And he's just so dangerous at that. He has that power over maybe 7-10 yards to get the shot away. And I think that goes back because there was an advantage for a free. But he went the distance, played the 70 minutes, got 5 scores. And maybe as important as anything else, Derry decided to put Brendan Rodgers back into him for a good length of time. And he was very, very effective in the middle of the field against Galway, and Dublin went on to be very, very efficient in the midfield on kickouts. So by simply being on the pitch and bringing Rodgers back into Markham, that's also another benefit for Dublin. So so that was Con. I think he looks alive and well, and he's gonna break hearts again next weekend.
He does, and to be fair, I've seen Kildare have done that similar move from the throw-ins. We played them, and they had a point in each half, maybe within 8 to 10 seconds. And my reading of that is particularly the one you see in the second half. Mayo or Derry are trying to get Paul Cassidy, that he's chasing from wing half forward to get Con. He's never getting him. There's too much space to make up that ground. My reading would be that if you go in and commit to that throw in, if in terms of you're a half back, you're not going to concede a score from stepping in there. I'd nearly offer that one up until whoever the opposite midfielder is gets back the wing half back and everybody shuffles across one, so that there's a half back waiting and ready to face and defend Con as he comes breaking off that sideline, because as fast and as long a straight as Paul Cassidy has there, there's absolutely no chance he's catching Conor Callaghan heading straight through and goal. So it's a strike move, it's a set play. But like I mentioned, Kildare, 2 halves against us, a point on the board within 10 seconds, Dublin the same there. And with the new game, what it allows you to do is you work on the throw up, you then work on the pass in, but your next thing you work on in training is everybody pressing on the kick out and getting the next one. And that's what they did. They built momentum off the back of that. They had whatever it was, 4 points to nothing, because they simply won the throw up, and then everything else is still planned after that there. We go after this first kick out, we forced them back, and they kept the scoreboard ticking, and it was a brilliant start for them, and one, while it even was close, to me, they were, even just looking at back, they just always looked like they could keep Derry at arm's length, or just have enough to make sure they get over the line.
And it was just enough. Like Dublin only got 2 points in the last 20 minutes, I think. Now I know conditions were deteriorating at that stage, and I think Derry only mustered 5, but like they it was quite, it was entertaining, and it was do or die as well. So it was a good game of football. I just going back to it, and I checked the Armagh game as well, the 2 restarts in the Armagh game with Dublin, and they had their homework done, or it certainly looked like, but there was no clean possession by Peadar O'Cuffy-Byrne. There was enough just to kind of cause a break to slow it down. So instead of getting that clean catch and getting his 2 or 3 steps and pass in, it never happened. So that just shut it down. So that the actual contest for the throw up is, in that situation, is vital, that it's not won clean by your opponent, just to nullify that.
Yeah.
But
well, easier said than done whenever you're trying to bat a ball away from a man the place of Peadar O'Cuffy-Byrne, in fairness.
He had a monster game. He had a monster game in fairness to him. But come here, before we go, we have to look ahead to the fixtures, the preliminary quarterfinal fixtures, and what's the verdict? Do you see any bolter from the blue, or are you kind of going maybe what everyone probably expects? Is there anything?
No, I think I fancy the favourites. Last chance saloon for everyone at this stage, but I fancy the favourites in Kerry, Dublin, Galway, and Donegal to come through. I think the 2 maybe that obviously will run out closest. I think Cork stays, and athleticism will still be enough to cause Dublin trouble in Croke Park, but I just think Dublin have too much, and they seem like in getting John Small back in their league and starting, and Con, they're 3 huge quality players, but experienced players as well. But the big one for me, I suppose, up this neck of the woods is Down, and the All-Ireland series that they have had, the performance they put in against Monaghan last weekend, and the amount of scores they put, and just the style of play that they have. They've been really, really impressive, and I think they'll give Galway a world of trouble, but unfortunately they're still just conceding too many opportunities. You're going up another grade in terms of the ability of Galway forward that's coming. So I think they'll offer up too many opportunities that Galway will ultimately take, but I think that'll be another super game of football, where we'll see a huge amount of scores on both sides of the field. But I'll run with the 4 favourites to make it to the All-Ireland quarter-final weekend in Croke Park and next weekend.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Maybe there will be a surprise, but that's the way I see it falling as well. So let's see. We'll know. We can revisit it this week, Aaron. But listen, I think we're going to leave it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and enjoy the football coming up this weekend. And talk to you next week.